So, Tim
Hello.
Bleazard. Is it Bleazard? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it's spelt in a different way. It's like Bleazard, and I bet you get people all the time saying it's a bit like O'Donoghue, I suppose. Yeah. So, Tim, your accent, you sound to me like you've grown up in Bradford. Is that right?
Yeah, I was born in a place called East Bowling, and I live in Idle now. So I've lived in Bradford all my life. Yeah.
So you're proper born and bred in Bradford, yeah?
Yeah. Proud of it. Yeah.
So, Tim, we're doing a video games tour of Bradford, and I was wondering if you could think, if you were talking to somebody now who was sort of in their teenage years and they were interested in video games, like maybe they want to go and study or they fancy a career, or maybe it's just a hobby. Are there certain things that you know of in Bradford that you would recommend? Is there anything that you're involved in yourself that you would suggest?
Well, one thing that's worth a look, Alan, is the Bradford College do lots of work on video game design. So we run a gaming festival for our primary school students, and one of the people that we had speaking there was one of their lecturers. So their lecturer came down and gave us lots of amazing advice and information about the gaming industry and all the different jobs you can do in the gaming industry. So you can go to Bradford College and you can find out about all the courses that they do in games design, which then will, hopefully get you into that industry.
So they do courses on things that would be useful to somebody who's going down that particular career profile, say.
Yeah, absolutely. They do lots of courses, but then there's facilities there as well where when you're enrolled, you can actually drop in where there's tutors there, and then the tutors will be on hand while you just develop your game and work on your projects there, and then you can just call on them for advice.
So I imagine they must do taster days as well. They probably, if there was a festival on, I guess they'd probably have some students, and they must have students who've studied there as well, who, a youngster nowadays could possibly find out if somebody's done a course and what they learned on that.
Yeah, and I think that it is a definite career path, because there are lots of gaming companies around here. If you look in Bradford and then look a little bit wider at Leeds and Sheffield, you've got people like Rockstar Games that are world leaders that have got studios around here. So there's a huge pool of talent, and that's one way that people can get into it and learn from other people, by looking at the college and the university as well.
So you work at the Innovation Centre in Little Germany. You host activities there, don't you? Like you mentioned the Games Festival, but isn't there something that you do at weekends as well?
Yeah, there's a Coda Dojo takes place there. So they've still got stuff online. It's worth having a look at what the Coda Dojo have got online at the minute as well. But yeah, we have monthly sessions where we get people that come down and do different projects. And the great thing about that is you get people from industry that come in and show everybody how they code. So it's beyond school. And you can see quite a lot of the purpose behind it and the reason why you're making these things as well. So yeah, so Coda Dojo is cool.
I think I've seen, like on Twitter or on Facebook, people sharing images from there. And there was somebody was building a Minecraft server. Somebody else was doing mods. And it's quite a range of ages, isn't it? There's adults as well as young people there, and they're all. But I guess because it's on different times, different months, so I guess people would have to check the availability ahead and make sure that it was on.
Yeah. You can find it online. It's Bradford Coda Dojo. If you just search for Bradford Coda Dojo, then all the information will come straight up.
So Tim, when you were younger, did you play video games yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I think we had an Atari console when they first came out. I was an arcade kid. We went to the seaside a lot, played loads of arcade games, and then when the Atari consoles came out, we had those. Missile Command, obviously things like Space Invaders, but Missile Command and some strange things like the E.T. game that, people say it's the worst game of all time and it got buried. So things like that, I quite liked it. And then Dragon 32 computer, and then spent way too much time playing things like Age of Empires and games like that, and then still play now. So at the moment I'm playing a game called Firewatch. I know it's not the newest, it's been out a few years, but the problem I have, I think as I get older, I lose the ability to retain all the mental map. So I think, oh yeah, I need to go back to that campsite. How do I get there? And I just spend ages walking round and round. But I played lots of games with my son as well. So my son is 15. We've played lots of games now. We really enjoy playing a game called Child of Light. Love the independent games for the PlayStation. So I love games. Yeah, it's
surprising just how many independent games companies there are in West Yorkshire, especially in areas around Leeds. I think there are actually one or two in Bradford itself. I think there's one in Bingley. I'd have to check because people move, don't they, from time to time, and at the moment there's a lot of people working from home. Is there? Am I right in thinking there's a game studio in Kirkstall or something, or am I confusing that with something else?
There's a place in Kirkstall called Arcade Club. So this guy started off. I think he's from Bury. He's from your side of the Pennines, and he started collecting old arcade games, and then
so these are like the big cabinets that you put coins in to play.
Yeah,
like
the real deal. Yeah, absolutely. And I think his wife got fed up of him actually taking up loads of room. So he then got a warehouse and started filling that up. And then he decided, well, why don't I charge people to come and play these games? And he's got, I think it's 4 floors now in Bury, the one. And he's opened one at Kirkstall, not far from Kirkstall Abbey. So it's just over the border from Bradford, and you pay something. I can't remember how much it is. It's not much, but then you can play games for like 5 or 6 hours, and it's brilliant. So we go then relive my childhood. But for people that want to get into game design, it's just great to look at all those different examples because you've got loads of genres, and you can just pick up all those ideas from people. So Arcade Club's great. Oh, and they do food and drink as well.
That's handy. Yeah. Do you know, one of the things I think is like the jewel in the crown of Bradford is the fact that we host the Yorkshire Games Festival here every year. Have you ever been to that yourself, or are you aware of what happens?
Yeah, I've been to a couple of events. I think one of the things my kids really wanted to go. They wanted to go see some YouTubers a couple of years ago called Yogscast, that were talking about how to become a YouTuber. And I remember all these exciting kids that just think that you sign up and then that's it, and you're a YouTuber for life. And these guys started up by saying, have a backup plan, have a plan B, and also be prepared to work so hard. And you could just see everybody in the audience go, oh. But yeah, it's great. And they get some real talent, don't they? They get some... They get some real big hitters from the industry to come and talk, BAFTA-winning game designers.
Well, I was looking earlier. There's a whole playlist of interviews that they've recorded over the years, and not all of the presenters sound like they're from this part of the world. They sound like there was people who come up from America, people come up from London, Silicon Valley. So I mean, it is amazing that all of this happens in Bradford. I just wonder, like, if you're a teenager, would you think there's a lot of use in going to something like this? Do you think that would be beneficial in some way?
I think, because it's got to be, because if you've got some of the finest minds with some of the brightest ideas coming together on your doorstep and you can ask them questions, then, what's not to like? Mm-hmm. It's just amazing that they've actually got something that any city anywhere in the world would be proud and honored to host, to take place here. It's brilliant. If you want to be in any kind of creative industry, even if you're not wanting to be into game design, but if you want to be any creative industry, you can learn things from these people by going and seeing the creative process that they've gone through to make the award-winning content that they have. Yeah, definitely.
And you just never know who you're going to meet at one of these festivals. People trade contacts, and you can see the different. In fact, I remember when I was there last year, they were showing some early releases of things. You weren't allowed to take photographs of it because these things were not yet made public, like consoles and games and things like that. Tim, it's really lovely chatting to you. One of the things that I remember, every time we meet, you always come up with really good practical suggestions. So when you were talking about the Games Festival before, I do hear some people say, oh, you need Unity, or you need to be learning all about using this game engine. But when you're running the Games Festival, so they're mostly primary schools, would they be using Unity, or is there other software that you tend to suggest or recommend?
Yeah, we mainly use Scratch. We've used other things like Kodu, and we've used an iPad app called Tickle as well. So people can design everything as well. There's another one that's completely gone out of my head that I'll have to tell you about later. You'll have to put a caption on that when I tell you what it is, because it's gone out of my head that we've used as well. But we have people designing all sorts. But also what we do is we have people. We have categories where people can tell us about game characters, where they sketch things, or where it's just pen and paper. So it's like an abstraction for a game idea that people come up with, because I think that spark is great. I mean, if you go on somewhere like Steam and you look at the games that people make on Steam, it's just amazing. There's everything, and sometimes the coding will come if you've got the creativity. And you've got that, then you can go, that's the reason to go and find out how to do all those other things. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. But we did have a lot of fun the last gaming festival that we had, because we had huge games where we had kids as human controllers. So we played Breakout. Do you remember Breakout?
Yeah, you have the bouncing ball, and
we had Breakout, and we had it wired up to a makey. So we had on one wall, we had a silver pad, and on the other wall we had a silver pad, so the kids had to run between them and touch them while they were holding an earth wire to make them work. And then we had 60 kids all working. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we had 60 kids all working together on 2 maze games running at the same time. So it was a race to actually, but we had a teacher high-fiving in the middle to actually get around. So it was just awesome. So I can't remember what your question was, but I just wanted to mention.
No. Well, there was 2 things there that you made me want to respond to. One of them was you mentioned Scratch, and I think there's a real problem with Scratch that people just underrate it. They don't. And if you think about the games industry, there are so many different disciplines. So there's people who physics is their thing, all about how objects move and interact with each other, and they're not busy designing characters and landscapes. They're thinking all about how to make these games as realistic as possible. And then, of course, you've got people who are fantastic artists. They pick up a graphics tablet, and the stuff that it's so realistic, the things that they can create. And the lovely thing about Scratch is you don't have to have a massive technical background, but it's so wonderful for creating and demonstrating concepts of games. Like, I can imagine, you and your family have gone to this arcade game thing in Kirkstall, and then you come back home and you're having a conversation. You think, I wonder if I could take one of those games, and you could model it in Scratch just to say to people, look, here's something I've been working on. Right, Tim.
I think one of the things, though, just go to Scratch and then type in the name of the game. Just go to the website, type in the name of the game, see all the other versions that people have made. And then you can go in and you can have a look at the code if you want to, or you can just play the game.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Scratch is called what it is, because it from hip hop, where you take other people's work, you remix it into your own.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, Tim, it's always so lovely to chat to you. So we're going to go off and explore other areas of Bradford that young video gamers might be interested in. But thank you so much, and we'll take on board some of those tips that you've mentioned. Have a lovely day, and speak to you again soon.
Nice to speak to you, Alan.